Hello, my dear friends. I want to share a humorous story. Sometimes you learn the most important lessons from your own experiences. I was at a wedding recently, and I was at the chuppah, and the chuppah room, sometimes the maitre d' asked people to be quiet, silence their phones, and not engage in conversation. Nobody did that. And this chuppah, it was so noisy. It was like a carnival atmosphere. People were talking. Now, I made a commitment years ago, personal commitment, not to have any conversations during a chuppah. Before I made that commitment, I was always careful not to talk loudly at a chuppah. I thought it's inappropriate, it's not fair to the chassan and kala. This is the most special moment of their lives, and it's a moment of kedusha. It's a moment where we should show reverence and sensitivity to the chassan and kala. But I was guilty of quietly engaging in conversation. But finally I decided, no conversations. I'm not going to talk to anybody. People sit down next to me and they say, Shalom Aleichem, what's your name? How are you? Where you're from? Do you know my cousin? I won't answer them. I go, okay, to show them that I don't, and so not to insult them, I write down on a piece of paper, I am sorry, I apologize, I have a personal commitment not to talk during a chuppah. So here I was at this chuppah, and the chuppah was so noisy. It was mamish like a carnival atmosphere. Everybody was talking. And then on top of that, there were these three guys that sat down behind me, and they were conversing and broadcasting everything they had to say. It reminded me, like when I used to travel to New York on the train for 39 years, work at the OU. There were always people on the train that would talk on the cell phone. And some people, it wasn't enough that they talked on the cell phone, but they had to broadcast what they were saying. They wanted everybody in the car to know their whole life history and all the problems that they had, and a pain in their side, and they're going to see the doctor. I never understood what's the psychological profile of these people. Why do they why do they want everybody to know everything that they're saying? It wasn't as if it was anything important. I don't know, maybe it's delusions of grandeur that they thought that people would be interested in knowing what they have to say, whatever it is. So, but I'm sitting here at the chuppah. These three guys, they were so loud. You could hear them in the back of the chuppah room. I was sitting near the front. They were sitting near right behind me. I'm sure the people in the back could hear their conversation. There was such a noisy group of people. I had to exercise tremendous self-control, not to turn around and stare at them, or even worse yet, to tell them it's not nice what you're doing. It's so inconsiderate. It's so inappropriate. But I did. I controlled myself, and I didn't say anything. But then I almost lost it because one of the three guys started to say Dvar Torah. Now, there's a concept Chazal say there's a mitzvah baba avera. If you do a mitzvah through an avera, it's not a mitzvah, it's an avera. Let's say, for example, you want to shake lulav and esrog. So you walk into a shul. You don't have a lulav and esrog. You walk into a shul. You steal the lulav. The guy puts it down and he walks out for a moment. So you steal his lulav and esrog, and then you go. You walk over to your seat, and he doesn't know what happened to his lulav and esrog, and you're busy shaking the lulav. You make a bracha and you say with a lot of kavanah and a lot of feeling, and you say hallow and you shake the lulav. That's a mitzvah b'avera. That's not a mitzvah. It's an avera. Gemara says if you do a mitzvah b'avera, you're menayit. You anger Hashem. A mitzvah is supposed to find favor in the eyes of Hashem. I wanted to turn around to these guys. One of the three guys was saying it better. I wanted to say, mitzvah. This is mitzvah b'avera mamish. This what are you doing? You think it's a mitzvah to tell over Dvar Torah? Now this is not avera, and you're angering Hashem. You're being menayit. But again, I almost lost it, but I exercised tremendous self-control. I was proud of myself. I didn't say anything to that guy. But I will tell you that as the chuppah was unfolding, I imagined in my head that these three people were the biggest scoundrels in the world. They were so mean and so insensitive. I almost saw the horns emanating from their heads. And I couldn't wait till the chuppah was over to see who were these three terrible people that were speaking during the chuppah in such a loud voice and telling over divrei Torah. Well, after the chuppah, the first thing I did, I stood up, I turned around, lo and behold, three sweet, nice-looking guys. You can see on their faces, they're sweet guys, and they were very friendly with each other, close friends and chummy. So I was somewhat embarrassed that I had not given them the benefit of the doubt. You have to be down with kafschus. I have to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so they were talking, but they were. I thought they were terrible as scoundrels. They weren't scoundrels. But I also realized another thing, and that is, if they were such nice people, so why indeed were they engaged in conversation? What's the explanation for that? What was their justification? So I realized that the reason is that they were oblivious to the fact that they were being irreverent and offensive to the Chas and the Kala, that they were disturbing the concentration of the Chas and Kala. I'm sure that that's it. If I asked them, how come you were talking? They would say, why not? What's the problem? Everybody else is talking. Why can't we talk as well? They didn't realize, even though they were talking louder, but they were oblivious to the fact that the impact of what they were doing. And for me, it was a very important lesson that many times we're all guilty. We all do things that are hurtful. Sometimes there are people that are just mean-spirited, but most of the time, people that do things that are hurtful, it's not because they're mean. It's because they're unaware. They're oblivious to the impact of that their words will have. That people speak lashon hara. It's not that they want to bury the person and they hate him and they want to destroy the person's life. And with lashon hara, you could literally destroy. A person could lose his job or it could destroy a marriage. It's not because they want to do that, but people are oblivious. They're not aware of the consequences. And that's what happened with these three guys. They were nice people, but they were oblivious to the consequences of what they were doing. The Rashi says in the Chumash says in Parashas Kisisa, the mitzvah Hashavas Aved, that if you see an ox or another animal walking down the street, there's a mitzvah and it's lost. Obviously, there's no owner with it, so there's a mitzvah to return it. And the Chumash says, "Lo sucha l'saim," you're not allowed to hide. So Rashi says, what does it mean you're not allowed to hide? When you see an ox, so you're not going to. In other words, the Torah is saying you must return it. Don't not return it because you're hiding. What the person's going to do? He sees the ox and he's going to go run into a barn. So Rashi says it doesn't mean you won't hide. But figuratively, it means you're hiding. Rashi says, how do you figuratively hide? By closing your eyes. So even that's difficult. What does it mean you close your eyes? You saw the ox already. What does it mean you close your eyes? So, but what it means obviously is that mentally you close your eyes. You see the ox, but so how come you don't return it to its owner? Don't you realize to mend the ox? I don't know what an ox is worth. I never sold an ox or bought an ox. Probably a few $1,000s. It's not hard to imagine the agony and the desperation of the person whose ox is missing. So why are you ignoring it? So the answer is because people close their eyes. There's a switch. Everybody has that switch in their head. It's like a light switch. It turns off the lights. It turns off. You could see it, but you would turn off the switch. It has no impact. It's as if you didn't see it. It's your kaivisheino. Rashi says you close your eyes figuratively, mentally. You close your eyes, and therefore you're not aware of what's happening. And that's the reason why people oftentimes when people speak lashon hara, it's not because they want to be mean. It's because they close their eyes. They tune it out. They don't think about the consequences, and that's exactly what these three guys were doing. They were nice people, and fortunately I didn't yell at them. But they're nice people, but they turned off the switch in their head, in their eyes. They didn't think about what impact does this have on the chassan, what and on the kala, and on the family of the chassan and kala, and all the other people, and the person that were disturbing me as well. They didn't think about that because they closed their mentally. They closed their eyes. In this week's parsha, the Chumash says, "Rei anochi nosing lefnechem bracha kol." God says, "I'm placing before you a bracha and a kol." So the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh asks, why does it say Re'eh? You should see. What's there to see? It should say that that you should know that I'm placing before you a bracha and kol. So I think it means that part of the bracha and kol is when a person sees the consequence of what they're doing. So sometimes it's a bracha and sometimes it's a kol, and the person cannot allow himself to be oblivious. You have to see. Sometimes people become self-absorbed in their own piety, and they don't pay any attention to what's going on around them. There's a famous story I told it many times. Rabbi Salanta says that when he was a young man, he wants to be Erev Yom Kippur, and he had an important question. He saw somebody coming in the opposite direction. He asked him an important question. I don't know what. Maybe he needed to know what time it was. He wanted to know what time is Shkia. And he asked the person the question. He says the person was so absorbed in himself. You could see the Yiras Shamayim on the fear of heaven on the person's face, and the tears falling down from his eyes. And he was so absorbed in doing tshuva because it was right before Yom Kippur. And the person, instead of answering Yisrael Salata, he completely ignored it. And he just whisked by. So Yisrael Salata said, what right did he have to do that? Even if he's doing these tremendous mitzvahs and thinking about all these things in tshuva, but I'm a human being. He has a responsibility to me as well. That you can't, and that's what it means that people, you have to see because if you're gonna live in your own dalat amas, in your own 4 cubits, and you don't pay attention to what people are doing, what people are thinking, what people are feeling, that's false piety to get self-absorbed. That's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to. We have to see other people. We have to see how they feel. We have to think about the consequences of what they're doing. And that was the error that these 3 people. I didn't say anything to them. Maybe they'll happen to stumble on my video. And Baruch Hashem, I didn't insult them by my comments, but maybe they'll appreciate what I'm saying. That you have to think about. What impact does what you do have on what you do and what you don't do? What impact does it have? What impact does it have on the people sitting around you who are disturbed by your talk? We had the same problem in shul for many years. Baruch Hashem, the decorum in the shul now is outstanding. I think most of the time it's very, very good. But for years I gave drushes about. It was difficult maintaining the decorum, and when people speak, so it's irreverent to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's a chutzpah to talk in God's house, and it's also disrupting to other people. There are people that have serious problems in their lives and going through illness, and they want to daven with kavana. And when a person talks, it's so disturbing. Why did people do that? And not because they were bad people. Chas v'shalom, they were good people. And they were social. They wanted to have a conversation, but it's because they were missing the ru'u or re'eh. You have to see what's going on. Make sure you understand everything that you do, what impact does it have on other people, and you also have to see the other person. You have to what's going through there. When you see an ox walking in the street, you can't just close your eyes and not think about who's the owner. You have to see. You have in your own mind. You have to imagine the pain that the owner has, that he's missing something of some and even small value. You have to. There's a mitzvah of Shabbos Aveda, because people, even if you lose something that's hardly worth anything, people, it's enormously upsetting to lose something. So that's. Lo suchol sam. Don't close your eyes. Don't use that switch. Get rid of that switch in our heads. That, as if you're able to close your eyes mentally. Don't close your eyes. You have to be keenly aware and sensitive to everything that's going on around us. In conclusion, I would note that this is part of the problem, that our davening. It's now 10 months since the October 7th. It's closing. September 7th is going to be 11 months. There's so much pain and suffering and trauma in Eretz Yisrael. Our davening every day should become greater and stronger, because every day that it goes on, the hostage situation and the threats and the fear, every day it becomes much more and more difficult. And the people that are displaced from their homes, and then people who are injured, and people who lost dear ones, and our davening should become every day. It should reach a crescendo, go an octave higher. But instead, it's just the opposite. It becomes diminished. Why is that? Because it's the same thing. It's because people don't like to have to think about painful events. We don't want to be burdened by the pain that other people have, and therefore we're not thinking about the feelings of other people. And this is a personal lesson that I learned. That we all have these kind of switches in our heads. We all tend to hide. We all tend to close our minds. The Torah says, don't hide. Don't close your eyes. You have to be aware of everything, of the sensitivities and the feelings of everybody that's living around you. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.